Hi, Rodrigo. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are things in Miami?
Things in Miami are awesome. Thank you very much, James, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you.
I guess it's cooling off this time of year. Miami can be rather hot in the summer.
Yes, now only get better. Only gets better now.
Rodrigo, Aurora recently won an award from the TSX for the best producing company on the TSX 30 for the second year in a row, I might add. But many investors in North America are not familiar with the company. So before we do a deep dive on Aura, maybe you can just give us a brief overview of the company.
Sure. Aura, we've been working in Aura since 2017, a transformation process, preparing this company to do what we are doing today, generating cash and growing. So as of today, we have one copper gold mine in Mexico, Aranzazu, one gold mine in Honduras, one gold mine in Brazil, all of the three producing assets. On the top of that, projects, greenfield to develop. One, Almas, that we are now in construction, should enter in production in April. The other one, Matupá, which we should be releasing a new technical report to start construction next year. And recently we acquired Borborema, which used to belong to Big River, that we also plan to start construction next year.
So just to clarify, you have three producing mines and you are building three other mines.
Correct.
Another aspect of your company that I find interesting is that you used to be called Aura Minerals, but now you go by Aura 360. Maybe you can just tell us what the meaning is behind this.
Yeah, during all the transformation that I mentioned to you, that we started in 2017, we reassessed the company in terms of portfolio assets, balance sheet, and the team and culture. And the Aura 360 is very related to the team and culture, where we decentralized a lot of the technical decision into the operations, preparing the local team to make the best decisions and efficiently, to run those mines efficiently. But then those managers need to understand the impact of those decisions into the environment, into the communities, and into the employees. That's why we came with the concept Aura 360, which is to make sure every one of us and every single one of us is understanding the impact of our decisions, what is known today as ESG. We came with the Aura 360 in 2017, and now it's known as ESG, but this is the way we make our decision, understanding the impact of over all those variables.
As you mentioned, you have three producing mines, and your largest one is called Aranzazu, which is based in Mexico. Can you just provide a brief overview of this mine? How many ounces a year does it produce? And maybe all-in sustaining cost.
Sure. Aranzazu, it's a copper gold skarn underground in the state of Zacatecas, Mexico, that has been operated for over 15 years. We restarted this mine in 2018, and we've been gradually increasing production and gradually increasing our productivity at this mine. So last year, the guidance of this year is to produce in gold equivalent close to 115,000 ounces, and cash costs it's close to $700, and we do not yet have all-in sustaining cash costs. We are uniforming all our standards to be able to publish our all-in sustaining cash costs by the end of the year.
And your cash cost that you said is around $700 an ounce. Is that because of copper credits?
Yes, copper credits does help us to have a below $700 per ounce as a cash cost.
And copper is becoming more important with gold producers now. What percent of your revenues come from copper?
We are now close to 25% of the revenues coming from copper. We have greenfield projects to develop all of them, and gold. So copper should be diluted along the next 3 years. However, we continue to pursue M&A as a growth strategy, and we should look also copper to maintain a good balance for our shareholders.
Your next producing mine is called San Andre, and that's in Honduras. Can you just provide a brief overview of this mine? How many ounces does it produce, and maybe also touch on your cash costs?
San Andres is a mine that's been producing over 25 years. It's a heap leach, low grade, very disseminated gold with a very low strip ratio, 1 to 1, sometimes less than 1, that we've the guidance of this year is to produce between 75 to 80,000 ounces. Understanding that this year we hit it more mixed ore, and the recoveries came below what we expected, but we are now moving to oxides, and next year we should increase recoveries to be able to produce at a lower cash cost and also a higher production. In terms of cash cost, for San Andres, we are now below $800 as a cash cost, close to 770, 780, but we expect also this to decrease along the next years as we should hit higher grades and higher recoveries during the next 3 years.
And your last producing mine is called Ernesto. That's based in Brazil. Just provide us with a brief overview of this mine.
Ernesto mine is a mine that we ramped up back in 2016, so it's been operating for over 6 years. This is an open pit mixed with a very small underground, so 95% of the ore come from an open pit. CIL and grades close to 1 gram, 1.1, 1.2 grams per ton. And also together with, as well as with the Honduras, we are hitting now during the second semester, mostly on the last quarter of this year, higher grades, which will also improve our production and also decrease our cash costs.
And I'm sorry, what was the annual production at Ernesto?
It's a close to between 70 to 75,000 ounces this year.
So let's move on now. We discussed your 3 producing mines, but you're also building 3 mines. And I want to touch on your next mine that's going to go in production, which is called Almas. Can you give us an update on this mine? Where exactly is it and how far are you along in terms of the construction phase?
Well, we have, as you mentioned, 3 greenfield projects to develop in the next 2 or 3 years. The first one that we are developing is Almas. Almas is a project, open pit CIL, simple project, simple to build, simple to operate in the state of Tocantins, Brazil, that we already started construction early this year. We are more than 65% now advanced, and we expect to start production in April next year, within the budget and within the schedule that we sent to the market early this year. Production of Almas should be on the first years between 52, 55,000 ounces with significant potential to increase as we will be moving and invest in geology to increase the feed of the plant, and cash cost, all-in sustaining cash cost below $700 per ounce in the first 4 years. The important thing that I would highlight about Almas is that we are building this plant at 1.3 million tons per year. However, we have identified many different targets very close to the plant that we will do exploration in order to find a new mine and be able to increase capacity of the plant so that we can also increase production. So we start with 1.3 million tons, but all the plant, all the designs, the infrastructure are being prepared to ramp it up to over 2 million, close to 2.5 million tons per year, but we'll do so after we can prove new resource and reserves around the plant.
And once again, this is going to start producing in April of 2023?
April 2023. I would also highlight the return of Almas, as we could work to have a very simple project. It's going to cost us $74 million to build this plant that will produce 50, 55, or perhaps even more thousand ounces. And internal rate or return of Almas is at 100% per year, leveraged at 50%. So it's a very good return and also short payback.
Rodrigo, you recently acquired a greenfield asset in Brazil called Big River Gold. Can you tell us about this asset? It's not yet in construction, but you're going to start construction soon. Can you just give us an overview on this asset and when that's going to start?
Well, Big River is to be a listed company in Australia that we just recently made a takeover offer and scheme of arrangement together with Dundee. Aura has 80% of this company now, and Dundee has 20%. This company has one project in Brazil ready to be built. It's a greenfield, fully licensed, that has close to 1.7 million ounces resources and reserves. And we plan to start the construction of this project during next year. It could be early next year, first semester, or the second semester. What we're gonna do is, during the next couple of months, go to the project, re-engineer things, see if we can find optimizations, and then convert the JORC into 43101. And by the end of the year or early next year, we'll inform the market if we're gonna start the construction of Borborema the first semester, or if you're going to start the construction during the second semester.
So you have a lot going on. Your guidance for 2022 is 260 to 275,000 ounces for the year, but you have a path to 400,000 ounces by 2024. So maybe you can just summarize for us how you're going to go from 275,000 ounces to 400,000 ounces with all of these assets that we just discussed.
As I mentioned to you, we still have some room to improve the production where we are already producing the three assets. Honduras moving to higher grades and higher recoveries, Brazil the same. But most of the additional production comes from two projects that we are developing, or perhaps three. Number one is Almas, that we are in construction, more than 65% advanced, start production by April next year. This project should give annualized 55,000 ounces of production, give or take. And Matupá or Borborema, the other two greenfield projects that we have that we should start construction next year, should also add Matupá if we start the construction early next year, and Borborema during the second semester, Matupá entering production by 24, and that will add additional 60,000 ounces of production on the first years. So Matupá and Almas, together with the improvements of the projects that we already have, will be able to reach 400,000 ounces. Or if we start Borborema first before Matupá, then it will be Borborema and Almas to 400,000 ounces by 24. And of course, moving beyond that, as we will still have one greenfield that will be in construction next year and we will enter in production by 25.
Rodrigo, I guess the one thing that really stands out to me is that you have a lot going on. In addition to your three producing mines, you have another mine that's going to be coming on in early 2023, and you're going to be building two other mines. Do you have the technical team in place to manage all of these various projects?
We do have a very good technical team, although when we move to construction of other two projects during next year, we might have to increase a little bit our technical team. However, I would highlight that the three greenfield projects that we are developing and being built during next year, all of them are in Brazil. We are a country that has a very extensive story developing mines, have good engineering school, good consultants. So Brazil has plenty of labor skilled to develop those projects. And the thing is, we will also sequence the projects in order not to get full attention from the same team at the same time. For example, Almas, we will start the construction of either Borborema or Matupá first semester next year, when exactly we'll start production of Almas. And the other project, we should start construction by the second semester so that we can sequence doing land work in one project. When we start building a plant, then you do land work in another one. And then when finish this one, you start doing the plant in the other side, in all the infrastructure. So sequencing will also help us to be able to manage them efficiently. I would highlight the team is so good that despite all this inflation and all the pressure that we've been seeing all over the world, we've been able so far to build Almas on budget and on time, according to what we released to the market early this year.
Rodrigo, I want to move on now and discuss your balance sheet because you do have so much going on, especially with the construction of these various assets. Your finances is very important. Can you just tell us how much cash do you currently have on hand?
Yes, last quarter we finished with over $220 million of cash. Understanding that a couple of weeks ago, we paid for the acquisition of Big River, which was $51.6 million. So we should be around slightly below $200 million and continue to invest in Almas and also continue to generate cash from an operation. What I would highlight, which is very important, is as well as we sequence not to get the project, the construction, in order not to have full attention from our management team, we also sequence in terms of cash flow. So with the strong position that we have on cash flow, it's a very short payback that we have in Almas, Matupá, and Borborema. All those projects should be close, if not less than 2 years. So we've been able to recycle capital very fast while we are also producing our operations, coming from a strong balance sheet. So we will be able to continue to grow, pay dividends without having to access the equity capital market in the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay, you just mentioned dividends, and we should touch on this because you also have a very aggressive dividend policy. Why don't you tell us about that policy and remind me again, how much do you pay out last year in dividends?
Last year, we paid $85 million as a dividend, which generated a yield for our shareholders at 13.5%, one of the highest in the industry. The way we built the strategy of Aura that was just since 2017 is to get into projects that are simple to build, easy to operate, short payback and high returns. Not necessarily very large projects, but very high returns. So the payback of those projects that we are building is less than 2 years, 1 year on equity. So as we are sequencing the construction, Almas, Borborema or Matupá, and then the other one, we'll be able to continue to generate cash, continue to grow while we'll be able also to continue to pay dividends. That's why we approved 2 years ago a dividend policy of 20% minus recurring capex, not including the expansion capex for the greenfield projects. And this year we are now paying biannually. We paid between dividends and share buyback a yield to our shareholder at 3.4% in the semester, which is annualized close to 7%.
Rodrigo, as we wrap up, you and your team have generated a lot of value in the last few years for your shareholders. How will you unlock value in the months to come?
Yeah, James, I would say that we're just in the beginning. I think, of course, collecting the first fruits of the hard work we did in the first 3 years of the transformation of the company. However, we built a very strong portfolio that we will continue to generate value to our shareholders during the next years. How this is going to be, we're going to unlock value from 3 different areas to our shareholders in Aura. Number one, we have greenfield projects to develop. We have the execution risk, so we want to deliver the projects on time and on budget that will also add value to our shareholders. Number two, this company has underinvested in terms of geology and exploration. It's still our potential, its geological potential, it's unknown. For example, we have 650,000 hectares around the mines that we already operate on the project that's going to be developed. And Aura, just 5-6 years ago, was just investing $2 or $3 million in geology and exploration. Just last year, we started to invest in exploration, close to $22 million. This year should be close to $25 million. And some results has been very enthusiastic. We have been very enthusiastic about the results. For example, in Matupá, a project that we should start construction next year, we continue to do exploration and we hit it. And we shared with the market recently 81 meters at 3.89 grams per ton, 51 meters at 3.14 grams per ton. So that shows the potential that we still have increasing resources and reserves of operating mines as we grow in terms of exploration. And the third variable that is going to unlock significant value to our shareholders is the multiple per NAV. Although we've been number one TSX in 2021, number one TSX in 2022, we are still discounted compared to our peers. And our peers are the companies that produce 200, 300, 400,000 ounces that normally trades at 0.4 times NAV. Companies that has 600,000 ounces, 700, 800,000 ounces of year production, normally they trade at 0.7, 0.8 times per NAV. So we know very much how to get over 400,000 ounces. Only Almas and Matupá put us at 400,000 ounces. The last acquisition that we made will move beyond that. So we know how to get close to 500,000 ounces. However, we still continue, and we have a strong balance sheet, a very strong team. We continue to pursue M&As in order to push our production above 500,000 ounces so that we can change the peers and change the multiple. So we'll be unlocking value by execution, building the projects, exploration, increasing resources and reserves, and changing the multiple.
Well, Rodrigo, I want to thank you very much for spending time with us today. That was a great introduction of the Aura story. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much, James, and it was very nice to be here with you.